Music producers is Curtis King, CurtisKingBeats.com, and you're watching another episode of CURTIQUE-My-BEATS. This is the show where you send in your beats for constructive feedback that you're not going to get anywhere else, because it's constructive feedback that is meant to build up your empire and not burn your building down. Now, when you hear other beat critiques, they tell you stuff like, oh, it's trash, keep your day job, why your snares sound like nipples being flicked by long fingernails. Curtis, what is your obsession with nipple-lid sounds? Don't even question me. It just, tell me it's not an accurate sound of when you hear really soft drums. Does it not sound like cold nipples that, okay, let's not even get into that. Just go along with it. Anyways, before we get started today, I got two announcements I want to make. First and foremost, you've already seen this many a times, right? But have you seen the hardback? Oh my goodness. This is now available at musicproducerbook.com. But I just wanted to share this with you because it's so tight. And this is only available because of you guys purchasing the book and making sure that the publisher knows, look, we need something like this. So thank you. Second thing we got to talk about. You may have seen something in the bottom right corner of my latest videos where it says road to 100K. What does that mean? That means that we're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers. And when I first set out on this journey, we were at 50,000. I knew I had to double down on the work, and I knew I had to go crazy with my output. And did I not do that? Well, maybe you knew or maybe you didn't know, but today is the 95th day in a row that we have released new video content. Yes, every single day we've been releasing new content, new original content. Sometimes I didn't know the topic until the day of. This is not archive video. This is literally the day before type video. But we've been working, you guys have been supporting, so it's very important that I let you know what the goal is and what's going on. So if you're not subscribed and you've been watching these videos, man, take a second right now. I'm gonna just wait. You just pause the video and go subscribe. Okay? Cool. You just subscribe, you good? For all those that already been subscribed, thank you so much. Let's get started with another episode of Critique My Beats. We're starting off with a producer named Mike. He says, "Hi Curtis, my name is Michael. First of all, I want to say that I like your work and things you are doing because your positive energy is getting me through some hard days and it makes them better." Appreciate that. Anyways, I'm from Czech. I was in the Czech Republic, okay, and I'm making music for fun. I like my music, but no one really heard it except for my brothers and sister, and now Curtis King and 74,000 subscribers. My son was born 1 month ago. Hey, congratulations, sir. And since I'm interested into making some money any way I can, so I would love to hear your opinion on my music. Okay, is it good by any means? What should I improve? What genre am I making? I don't even know. Where would this music fit? Cool. So you left us with two beats. The first one called Scare It 2.0. Let's listen to it. Okay, so that was Scary 2.0. What's interesting about this one, it has two different emotions all together. One emotion seems like it's heading in a positive direction, and the other emotion seems like it's heading in a depressing direction. It's like it's two varying emotions together, and they don't necessarily work in harmony. Now, the things that I like about this one, first and foremost, I enjoyed that 808. I feel like you actually did a really good mix for just doing music for fun. That's a pretty good mix on the 808, and I feel like it had a great presence. I like the glide on the 808. Let me talk about this snare though. Your snare hurt my feelings, and not in a good way. Fam, we gotta beef that snare up. First of all, turn that snare up. Second of all, I don't know what program you're using, but run it through some kind of parametric equalizing and just start jacking up the highs and the mids on that snare, because that snare has no life. That snare is lifeless. That snare is, I'm dead. That snare has no life to it, and you gotta add some more flavor to it. You have a lot of reverb, which is cool, but you wanna duck some of that reverb because it's stealing the life. Breathe. Clear out of your snare, man. You need to beef that snare up. That's what I would say. Also, too, you could take it down a tone so that it gives it a little bit more girth to it and whatnot. The melody itself was pretty monotonous. It stayed the same throughout, and it doesn't really give you any kind of deliberate emotion. It doesn't give you an obvious emotion to address this on. It just seems like a beat that keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. But that's the first beat. Let's listen to the second beat and see what you're working with. This one's a bunch of numbers. Well, let's just listen to it. Okay, so that was the second beat. So I'm starting to get a better idea of how to address these questions that you asked me. As I'm listening to this one, the thing that I enjoy once again is your low end work, the 808, the bass line. It's sounding like you're either finding high quality 808s or you just have a better idea of how to mix your own 808s. I think that both of these are going to need you to find your mixing style. Right? So there's universal ways and agreements that people say, oh, these are the universal ways to mix a snare or a kick or 808. But aside from that, it's like you got to think of mixing as a hat, right? So you got a hat. Some people wear a hat straight down like this. Some people wear it to the side like it's 1992. Some people wear it behind their head like it's 1992. But either way, that's their style of doing it. So you're going to have your style of mixing. You're not going to know that until you fail. So I think right now it sounds like these beats are ultra safe. It sounds like you're using a lot of your stock sounds. You're not really messing around too much with the filtering. I like the way this one's arranged a lot more because it does sound like it has a very focused emotion. This one doesn't have varying emotions like Scary 2.0. This one has a pretty deliberate direction for a storytelling artist or a storytelling lyricist. Now let's answer your question. Is it good by any means? Of course. I think that you have a lot of potential, but I think that you're gonna have to upgrade your sound. You're gonna have to learn some more mixing techniques. You're gonna have to go out there and fail, try some new stuff. What should I improve? Your mixing, your sound design, that'll come with time. Your attention to where you're placing these melodies. So that's more so arrangement, I guess, once again, but pay attention to that. What genre am I making? I would say the genre that you're making is I don't know. It's kind of got a really a video game feeling to it, like a video game dark alternative hip hop feeling to it that I can see getting placement later down the line once you improve your sounds. But right now with the stock sounds, it just sounds like certain sounds are higher quality than the other one, like the drums, the kick, and that snare. The snare was better on this one. This one had a little bit more life. Like, oh, he's breathing. Okay, cool. But the kick on this one was so dry. I just want to choke it with a handful of Jergens and just be like, just get some more life in there. This kick was dry. But these things are cosmetic and they can definitely be changed. What do you see your music fitting? Like I said, video games I think will be great for this. I think certain YouTube channels, like somebody who has a Minecraft YouTube channel, I think this will be great to have as intro music, to be honest with you. So those are my critiques. Thank you for sending those in. Let's go to the next producer. Next producer is DAKU, I believe. Hey Curtis, it's me again, DAKU from Germany. I was part of episode 33. Yeesh, crazy. Hope you and your family are doing well. I thought I'd let you listen to one of my beats with a different style and hopefully a better relationship between the kick and 808. Hope you enjoy. It's a tag version this time. Hope this is okay. As long as you didn't go crazy with the tags, my friend from Germany, we should be cool. But yeah, man, just don't go crazy with the tags. Like, CurtisKingBeats.com, beats.com, Curtis King, Curtis King. Why did you pay for the beat? Why did you pay? You know what I'm talking about. Let's listen to this beat called Night Shift.
DAKU on the beat.
Yo, fam, that is a record. Yo, fam, that is a record. DAKU, did you sample my voice? Did you sample me from episode? Now I definitely remember you. DAKU, remember from the other episode, I said, man, this is a record. I feel like you just sampled me on this. Did you do that? I think you did. Either way, Night Shift, I enjoyed this one. This is definitely a banger. I definitely see a better cohesion between your kick and your 808. Let's start with the melodies first. I enjoy the direction of the melody. I enjoy sort of that reversal type feeling on the lead sound. I think that definitely evokes certain like Drake sounds. It evokes a lot of, Big Sean sounds that are of the day, of the current time. And I think that they add a very interesting bounce when you have sort of this reversal type of sound and they're these 808s that are just banging through. Those just sound so nice together. Now, going back to the 808, I would have liked for a beat like this, even though you use the 808s in sort of a stabbing style, I would have loved to hear the 808s carry a little bit more bass frequency, almost to the point where it's even longer, right? I want to hear, some boom, boom, boom. Some of those short and long durations on the 808 would really make a person who's listening to this beat like really get a feeling out of it. But I definitely hear even an improvement from the last time. I remember your beat from last time. I remember saying that because I don't say that too often. Folks are not always making records who are producers. You're making beats that satisfy your own ears. And it's like, well, you want somebody to pay for that, don't you? Well, you better leave some space for the last instrument, which is the vocals being applied to that beat. This definitely left space. I enjoyed the arrangement of this. I enjoyed the slight sound design. I think you could have did a little bit more. I think that running certain things through a filter, I think that having certain dropouts, and you did well on the dropouts in this time, but I enjoyed that beat, man. Thank you for using me as your tag. I think that's tight. Anyways, if you want to get a hold of DAKU, his Instagram, his Twitter is at Beats by DAKU. DAKUBeats@gmail.com. My friend from Germany. Well, I greatly appreciate you sending those off. Let's go to the next producer. So the next producer is Philosopher and Fool. Oh, I think I followed you on Twitter today. Tight. Hello, Curtis. Pleasure to speak with you on the opportunities for this critique. I manage Philosopher and Fool and create abstract art and mixed genre instrumentals, mainly for dramatic soundtracks, creepy film scores, but I am expanding into general hip hop and electronic territory. I really hope you enjoy. My MP3 for Political Wasteland is attached and my social media is below. I also feature other artists and musicians that I enjoy and who inspire me. Yes, you posted my video that I posted up today about the whole IGTV extravaganza and whatnot, and I appreciate you sharing that. So Christian, I believe you're Philosopher and the Fool. Oh, that's what the website, but I don't know what your producer name is. I think it's Philosopher and the Fool. I'm talking too much. Either way, let's go to this beat that you left. It's called Political Wasteland. Okay, so that was Political Wasteland. Here's the first thing I want to say to you, Philosopher and Fool, and this goes to not just you, but other folks who do sound designing for soundtracks, film scores, and anything that is outside of hip hop. I don't know what your sound sounded like before you started doing hip hop, but I do know that to do film scores and to do dramatic soundtracks requires a lot of sound design. And one thing that I noticed that a lot of folks who come from that genre and go into hip hop, they seem to feel like they have to limit themselves and like simplify their approach. Now, obviously there's certain things that are more simplified, like our time signature in hip hop, but by no means should you be limiting your knowledge that you have about film scoring and limiting your, your abilities to make sounds that really evoke an emotion. As I'm listening to this sounds like somebody who has done film scores trying to do hip hop. And it should be more you embracing your history in film scores and then allowing hip hop to basically be just an added tool to your already crazy armor that includes film scoring. I think right now you're doing a lot of adjustment, and I think it's out of respect for the genre, but you're doing a lot of adjustment towards hip hop, and you're allowing it to kind of put you in this middle ground that's not really adding to your strengths. You're not really bringing anything to hip hop, and at the same time, hip hop's not even really adding anything to you. I know you said hip hop and electronic territory. As I listen to this, I think that it shows signs of someone who can do more, but may feel limited by whatever they believe a hip hop beat sounds like. That's just a big old assumption. I could be dead wrong. Please leave a comment if I'm dead wrong. But as I'm listening to this, some things that stand out. First of all, the drums are super thin. The snare, the kick, everything just sounds like very stock soundish. the snare itself didn't really carry too much character, and the character of your entire production really lies in what you use as a snare, a clap, a rim shot, whatever that you choose. The character of your beat is dependent upon that. So it's very important that you leave it with something that is if it's not hefty, it's something that has character and a lot of style to it. So as I'm listening to it, even like the bass line is something that kind of just went on and on. The loops just went on and on, but I really wish that, and I don't know any of your history with your other abstract art or mixed genre instrumentals, but I really feel like there's more that you could add to it. And I think that I can't answer that question because I don't hear any of your production. I'm just hearing one beat, but I think there's more. If you have a soundtrack history, a film scoring history, there's more you can do to this. You know, bring your world to hip hop instead of feeling like you have to adjust for hip hop to make sense with your sound. You know, give something new to the market. Feel like you're fulfilling a niche, and you'll find success being who you naturally are. And if film scoring is who you naturally are, don't alienate from that. Don't run away from that. That's your bread and butter. That's what I got to say about that. When you left us with your Instagram, which is @philosopher_and_fool. Thank you once again for submitting. Let's go to another producer. JUAN. Yo, what's good, Curtis? Been doing this about 2.5 years. I read that wrong. Used to play in a live band. The universe called me over to hip hop. LOL. Not really. Trying to sell my beats or nothing. Doing it for my own career come up. Currently working on perfecting the craft. Then I'll make all the social medias and such. Let me know what you think, bro. Thanks for your service. When I make it big, I'll give you a shout out. Shout out to the homie Curtis who helped me get here. Peace. All right, left us with 2 beats. Listen to Project at Work 32. All right, so Project at Work 32. First thing that stands out to me is that this is actually a beat that carries a great melodic presence. I like where it started off with. The pads, the warmer sounds, even the warping bass created a vibe that initially when you hear it as a writer, you want to get to work. However, there becomes complications once you start bringing in sort of that distorted synth or guitar that you added to it. I think for something like this, I would probably try to find somebody who can play guitar over this and just really add their own sort of flavor over it that's in key, because a lot of times this fell out of key with that distorted guitar sound. Also, 3 sounds that are bothering the hell out of me are the snare itself. That snare, you know, you got to be careful with certain snare sounds because they've been around so much, especially for producers who are using DAWs. They've been around so much that they date themselves, and when you don't add other layers on top of them, like you could have added an 808 snare on top of this and gave it a different texture altogether, and we would have never known that this is the same snare that was in those old school Swiss Beats kits. And when you listen to certain sounds, it's just like it's almost like the Spanish guitar era of hip hop. Like, you're just not gonna hear new beats like that in that style because they've dated themselves. And especially with hip hop being such a trendy musical genre, you gotta find ways to kind of advance with the times and try new things. Second thing, that hi-hat, that in the middle of the beat was so dry. and it was very much a stock hi-hat. It really takes away from all the work that you put on the melody. I feel like you put so much energy on that, but right now it's just it's two worlds fighting with each other. It's two errors fighting with each other. And I think that you're gonna have to find a healthy middle ground because you're using a lot of modern melodic sounds, but those drums are pulling you right back. Now, if that's your sound, that's your sound. Just find better ways to execute that sound. And like I said, the snare could have been better executed by putting a 808 snare on top of that clap snare combination. And then too, the hi-hat itself, you could have chose a better hi-hat, maybe a live hi-hat that carries its own sort of texture and reverb would have been nice, but that was beat 1. Let's listen to beat 2, Project at Work. I guess these are beats you're working on at work. So this is Project 30-1. Okay, so this beat number 2, I think once again you show a lot of promise when it comes to the melodic arrangement and structure of your beats. That is definitely your strong, your strength within your production that I'm hearing from these 2 beats. I think this one more so exposed the fact that you are using some stock sounds, or at least you're not mixing them. And as you can see from this episode, it's a very common issue that a lot of producers have as they sort of kind of come up and they find ways to really advance their sound. That's one of the biggest things, is finding, and not even just finding, but listening and trying to hear what are better quality sounds. What do those sound like? There's a reason why certain things just pop at you when you're listening. They're meant literally frequency wise to pop out at you. There's certain hertz and certain frequencies that say, boom, that is going to be a hell of a snare that's going to get your attention. Now, as I'm listening to this one, man, I wish I could just grab that melody and just add a drum loop over it, because the snare that came in was so disappointing, because you set the mood with that melody, man. That melody is asking for something like a snare that cuts through the mix, and it's not asking for a muddy snare. The snare that you had was very muddy. When I say muddy, it's just, it didn't really have too much life. It felt like it was just a lower tone snare that maybe started off as a higher frequency that you took down to kind of give, I guess, more of a darker feel in the drums. But this one is another one that could have used just a crispy 808, rolling 808 snare that would have just come right through crisp on it. Right now, it just sounds like it's just kind of keeping pace with the beat, and it doesn't really give the beat any extra life. Now, the sound mix altogether, I feel like this one was different from the first one in that melodically it was very muddy altogether. And I would have liked to see some of these sounds get spaced out more. It seems like everything is either being compressed or just being smushed down right here and not really being panned. I don't feel too much of, a variety or a surround sound feeling as I'm listening to this. I would think that certain sounds need reverb and certain sounds need filters, especially that I would have liked to hear that have more reverb and really just be tucked in the back of the mix. But those are my thoughts on that. You don't have any social medias, but Juan, I want to say thank you for submitting your beat off. Let's go to one more producer and call it a day or night. Malcolm Heavy, you back for round 2, I see, my friend. Hey, Curtis, Malcolm Heavy here again. I have 2 more tracks for you, 2 more hard beats. I tried to spice things up a little bit and add a few more elements, namely with Stranger. I added a lot of ambient pads in the background and did something pretty cool with the third drop, if you want to call it that. Hopefully the changes are noticeable enough. Really tried to use more EDM elements with the first one to add a little spice with the breakdown. Anyways, thank you for your feedback. It really helps me to hit right on target for the style I love so much. All right, no more rambling. On to the beats. P.S. Nothing here is going to give you any copyright strikes. Thank you, Malcolm Heavy. Thank you. We love this channel too much for some strikes. Listen to the first beat. It's called F the World Mode. Okay, Malcolm Heavy, I definitely see more of an attention to detail in your sound design. I'm hearing more sound effects. I'm hearing more things that give the rapper or potential artist over this beat another reason to go ahead and remember it and then actually want the beat as well. I think those sound effects are very important. I think that the mix was cool on those sound effects. They probably could have been ducked down a little bit more or in the back of the mix a little bit more, but that was among one of the things that I say about this one. When that drop, or not the drop, but when the initial build happened in this beat, you put so much pressure on that drop. And when the drop came in, that kick in 808 did not disappoint. That kick in 808 was hefty. It was filling in a lot of space. It definitely was warm. It hugged the track really well. But that snare, fam. Oh, that snare. Oh, it broke my heart. My heart got broke 2 times in this episode by 2 snares. And this was the second snare where I felt like maybe it's competing for space. I don't know if you're using the limiter that is kind of like taken away from the impact of the snare, but right now that snare sounds extremely thin. It might be a sound choice situation or maybe what kind of settings you're using on your limiter. Because right now it sounds like the snare is not hitting how a snare should be coming in, right? So I'm listening to that and I'm like, well, maybe you could have added a different sound. Well, it really comes down to whatever FX chain you're using. So that was some initial thoughts. Also, too, this is hella petty, but the hi-hat itself probably could have used more reverb to really give it more space and really more texture from the very jump of this beat. I think that would have definitely gave me an entirely different feeling. But that was the first beat. Malcolm Heavy, let's go to your second beat, which is called Stranger. Yeah, Malcolm Heavy. Stranger is definitely a banger. I didn't even mean for that to rhyme. That is definitely a banger. I enjoyed that one. I think that the sound design was executed so much better on this one than the first one, in that I believed your sound design. You know, it's almost like when you hear certain rappers that use certain ad-libs, and it's like, you know, they be like, I shoot you with the cannon. And it's like, fam, I don't even believe that ad-lib right now. This is the same thing for producers. There's certain sound design styles that you can tell when somebody is trying to emulate something they heard, and sound designs that sound like, ooh, even that probably surprised you even though you made it. Like, it sounds authentic. These sound like authentic sound design edits and drops that keep your interest as a listener. I enjoyed this one specifically for that. I think that we're running into some of the same issues though with this one that we have from the first one. This snare sounded a lot better on this one, but once again, I think it might be a setting within your master track, or if you're using a limiter, or maybe it's just the 808 is taking over so much space because it's coming through banging nicely that it's taking away some of the space that would be reserved for the snare. Because right now that snare, this was a little bit better, it's a little higher, a little bit louder, but it's just, I'm not hearing the chunk of that snare. I'm hearing remnants of the highs of that snare. I don't know if that makes sense as I'm describing that, but in my mind, I'm hearing exactly what I'm talking about. I feel like that shows me a glimpse of what the snare could be. And I didn't hear the snare too much when the 808 dropped out like that, so I don't know how to judge it from there, but I feel like there's something going on with your effects, or something going on between those two where you may just need to apply a special FX just for the snare to bring out some of the sweet spots, the mid frequency, the mid to high frequency where the snare kind of lives, the life of the snare lives, the chunk of the snare lives. But either way, I enjoyed both of these. I definitely see the progression that you've made since the last time. Not giving myself no credit for it. I'm just saying I saw a progression. I appreciate you sending this in. Your SoundCloud is soundcloud.com/Malcolm Heavy. Thank you for submitting your beat. That is the last producer of the night. I gotta say once again, producers, thank you for watching this series. Thank you for supporting. 95 days strong, 5 more till we get to 100, and then from there we gotta get to 100,000 subscribers. We gonna do that, please believe. If you want to be a producer on a future episode of Critique My Beats, go to CURTIQUE-MY-BEATS.com, look at the different packages, see what fits best for you. Once you submit that off, you can send your beats to the email that it gives you, and once you see that, you will be on a future episode very soon. We are winding down these tracks that we already had, so you definitely want to sign up soon. It's on that 4 queued right now. It's tight. You can get on here pretty damn soon. Anyways, once again, I'm Curtis King of CurtisKingBeats.com. Peace. Please subscribe to the channel below, Curtis King of CurtisKingBeats.com.